Okay, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have the full review for you for the Brellum Duobox. If you didn't see it already, we actually originally posted a kind of unboxing and packaging little mini review with initial impressions and general thoughts. So in the full review, of course, we'll just be touching on a little bit more detail as well as following up with kind of experience of ownership and the whole process there. Now, Brellum was founded back in 2015, and although very new brand, it was founded by Sebastian Mueller, who is a fourth generation watchmaker, and basically his family history goes back to 1885 as far as watchmaking in the Swiss industry. And personally, Sebastian has over 25 years of experience in the Swiss watchmaking industry. Now, of course, the brand is Swiss made, and kind of their mission statement for Brellum Swiss watchmaking. They're an independent Swiss brand developing, producing, and marketing high-quality timepieces for admirers of exceptional craftsmanship. Now, to me, they've definitely delivered on that. When you get this piece in hand, you're definitely going to be able to tell that the person, just everything behind this watch just requires such a high IQ, kind of to simply put it in just watchmaking and kind of the understanding of, what holds value, kind of what are those things that make a watch better than another, right? They all tell time, they all have the same amount of hands, this and that, right? But it has all those little tricks so finely done, just everything about it. It's just executed to a certain level, and of course designed to a level that is really, really exceptional, especially for the price. So this particular type of watch is, of course, a chronograph. Now, as far as key features and this common design language, when looking at a chronograph, it's going to have those external pushers. They're going to activate timing functions, and there's going to be multiple subdials to measure elapsed time, often featuring additional scales. In this case, the pulsometer scale. And then that's kind of dependent on the subgenre. Now, if it was something that was more kind of motorsports oriented, normally you'll see something like a tachymeter there, or something kind of more. I think more of the classic designs, you're going to see the pulsometers pop up, and then of course there's going to be all types of different scales that are out there as well. Telemeters and whatnot, and kind of more even after that. So one of the nice things about pulsometers is they're probably the most practical, although not useful for me. I'm not taking anybody's pulse or anything like that on a daily basis, but I probably would be more prone to use this than actually use a tachymeter to figure out my speed based on the distance traveled and the time elapsed. So a little bit about the model. Of course, this is the Duobox in silver. It is a chronometer, and the nomenclature is the DBCH100. Now, the retail price is $2,218.20, so right about $2,200 from Brellum. Of course, that is keeping exchange rates in mind, and I know that's a little bit more expensive than a lot of the watches that I feature on the channel, but I mean, for me, at this price, it's actually probably one of the best values I've ever featured on the channel as well. Let's go ahead and zoom out and get this in hand and take a closer look. Now, the case size is, let's go ahead and get that focus there, is 41.8, so just shy of 42 millimeters, which I think is actually pretty classic for chronograph watches. There's definitely a lot of information on the dial, so although it is slightly larger, I think it actually wears a lot closer to a 40, just because the visual weight of the piece definitely is there. There's a lot going on, but it's definitely far from cluttered by any means. So really, really nicely done. It has a 16.2 millimeter height, which is, I feel like, definitely a point of contention for a lot of people when they look at the specs. But you know, to be honest, anything with a 7750 movement is going to be right around 15 millimeters plus. So actually, what you're getting here with the extra height is, I mean, is mostly due to just the beautiful, you know, from the name Duobox, the double boxed sapphire crystals there. So I mean, as you can see, really nice on both sides of the case there. Really just gorgeous vintage aesthetic there. But you know, the nice thing is that it is sapphire, so you're gonna have the security of, you know, not having to worry about having to polish this crystal out or anything like that if it was you know, an acrylic crystal. And then even on the case back, having that extra dimension, really, really nice. And gosh, it just really highlights that movement that much better. So really beautiful. And you know, when you actually have it on wrist, it actually wears really nicely. So I would say definitely do not be detoured by the height. Once you have it in hand and on wrist, you'll definitely understand that it definitely, you know, you can't live your life based on the numbers. There's definitely a lot more to the way a watch fits. A lot of it has to do with the design. As you can see here, the lugs there curve down so nicely, so it just wears really, really nice. And there's just a little bit more to the story than what you'll see on paper, although on paper this thing is a killer as far as specs goes. So as you can see, the case is of course stainless steel, brushed and polished finishes, and then of course the polished crown, pushers and bezel. Well, polished, I guess, polished accents. Well, you know, actually that's polished crown. And then it just kind of has that milled out little portion there, etched with the matte finish to show the signed crown there. Really, really cool. And then of course these bevelings. I mean, look at how sharp the breaks are in between polished and brushed. Fantastic at really any price point, and just really extraordinary at this sub $2,500 price point. Really amazing, finely finished piece. Now the movement is classified as the Brellum BR750-1 automatic chronometer, which is basically a Valjoux 7750 base. It's hacking and hand winding, and it's an officially chronometer certified piece, you know, by the COSC. So definitely really nice, and then real amazing at this price point. I mean, one, to have a chronometer certified watch, let alone a you know, a COSC chronometer in a chronograph watch. So as far as other chronographs go, I mean, multiples of thousands of dollars, and you'll find there are many that aren't even chronometer certified. So really, really nice to not only have this level of finishing in the display back, but also have the timekeeping chops to go with it. So it's not just about a high grade and high level of finishing. It's also, you know, been put to the test, which is really nice. And, you know, you'll see other pretty highly finished 7750s in this range. Gray market, you definitely won't see very many of them in this range as far as the finishing goes in this price point. But let's say even gray market, you might be able to get it for a similar cost, around $2,500 if you're lucky. You know, maybe from a Baume & Mercier brand or that level, but those of course aren't going to be COSC certified chronometers. So really, really something to just add even more value. And then of course, gray market, you're not going to have the full warranty and everything like that. You're going to have kind of the dealer warranty. Here you're buying directly, you know, from the company, fully backed, which is really, really just fantastic. So the case back, of course, is a display case back, and it has a boxed sapphire, and the way the movement just sings in there visually, just fantastic. That nice skeletonized rotor, of course, all the finishing there. It's nice when you have a display case back, and then especially if it can highlight just, you know, some more complex pieces back there. You know, just mechanically, there's just more going on in a chronograph, and especially since this is a, you know, true chronograph movement versus something that's modular, you can actually see all the inner workings and the pieces there, and it's just extremely impressive. Even for somebody that's not a watch buff by any means, will see this and understand this thing is extremely high quality. And of course, I've had the chronograph running, so as you can see, just gives you a little bit more visual interest for the review, but really satisfying. Nice thud there. Just everything you want it to be. So really, really just fantastically executed. So really can't say enough. Now to take a closer look at the dial, as you can see, we have applied indices. There's actually little lume spots on each indice, and the indices are no slouch. As you can see, they're very three-dimensional, have some great contours to them, and just add another level of kind of dimension to the dial. Just really nicely executed. And not only are they applied, they also do have that little stripe painted down the centers there to kind of partition the pieces off, so you can get a little bit more timing accuracy as far as finding that center line when setting the watch, which is really, really nice. And then also when stopping the watch, right, when using the chronograph feature, if you stop it over one of the indices, you can tell if it's dead center or if it is a little bit farther beyond, which is always nice as well, which helps with legibility. Now the dial is a domed silver sunray dial, and then of course it has the date complication right there at 6 o'clock, which is really, really nice. And they also use a black date disc, which I think is just fantastic. I think they could have easily went with a white date disc and it would have been fine, but I think the contrast that the black date disc gives is just really fantastic. The negative, that kind of reverse look, it definitely catches your eye, and it's easy to find the date, but it's not obtrusive. I think it really just flows. There's just a really nice balance of black on the dial. There's just enough of it, and I think that piece just is just a really nice accent to a really gorgeous dial, and pretty much, you know, visually, this thing aesthetically is just gorgeous and in design. And then of course, when you start getting into appreciating the actual execution of the watch and the mechanics, then you kind of take it to the next level. But just purely based on visual balance there, this dial is just really, really excellently executed. Now it is also water resistant to 5 bar or 50 meters, which is nice. So if it rains or anything like that, you don't have to worry too much. You know, I definitely wouldn't submerge this underwater by any means or anything like that, but a good splash or anything like that, this will hold up just fine, which is great. And then, you know, if I didn't mention, of course, the hands are polished and loomed very nicely. Don't want to miss that. Which, you know, on chronographs, you don't always find loom on them, especially in something with such a classic dimension to it there, and style and the kind of the form of it. So it is really nice to have that loom there, and it really gives it a sporty vibe without being just purely dedicated to being kind of a sports watch. So although chronographs are very sporty features, there's definitely very dressy ones, and I think this balances the kind of dressy look while also being very versatile as a sports watch very, very well. Now the strap is very nice. The lug width is 22 millimeters, and then the strap has a nice little crocodile pattern on it, and this really, really nicely done underneath here. Kind of the other side, the leather is really, really nice, and you have, it's just really nice against the wrist there, and then you have the quick release little functions there, which is nice, so you can switch these out very quickly. And you know, anytime you don't have to use a tool on something that's this nicely finished is really a stress reliever for sure, because you never, you know, it would just be a shame to nick this case up having to use, you know, kind of the little watchmaker tools there to switch out the strap. So it's really nice to have that as an option. And then of course you have the really nice deployant buckle there, you know, of course with a little bit of perlage, and then just really, really extremely well finished. I think I already picked up some little wear marks there on, but as you can see, really high polished, nice beveling, just really well done from the deployant buckle side of the game. So really nice. So let's go ahead, and if you haven't seen how these kind of deployant buckles work in the past, I guess let's go ahead and do this on camera so you can get kind of a better look at how this works. So basically you're gonna push here, it's gonna pop up, of course, and then this is just going to have a little piece that comes out, that opens. Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit slower because it's on camera. And then basically you just figure out where the right hole is for you. For me, it is the 4th hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look underneath here, line everything up. There's the 4th hole. Snap that into place. Nice. And then one of the nice things about this, these types of closures, is that it really helps, you know, just keep this from this tongue, this end of the strap from just being all worn out, basically, because normally you're gonna have to take it, bend it, feed it through, pull it, so that just preserves your strap so much longer and prevents so much wear and tear, which is really, really nice. So then from here you just fold it, it slides right in there, and then of course just want to line these keepers up, and of course it's going to give me trouble because I'm wearing gloves, but as you can see, really, really nice on wrist. Underneath, I mean, gorgeous from this angle, which is pretty funny to say, but of course from this angle, wow, it really just pops. And I gotta say, although it might appear large, of course zoomed in, a little, you know, up close wrist shot there, but down here you get a little bit more scale and kind of understanding that this is again on the human form. You know, this is something that really just wears nicely. Definitely more on the modern size standpoint, but just fantastic, and wears great, looks great, feels great. I mean, that box sapphire back just sits really nicely on the wrist, and of course it doesn't give any crazy imprints from when you have those, you know, really deeply engraved case backs or anything like that. So it definitely offers another kind of dimension of comfort there. Now I feel like these on wrist, the proportions are extremely balanced. You know, although it is tall, it's by no means bulbous. It's definitely classic without feeling derivative as far as from a design standpoint, which is really nice. So this is on your wrist. It's not like someone's going to confuse it, you know, for an El Primero or, you know, a Carrera. You know, those are pretty iconic chronographs, but what they will not mistake is the build quality. You know, This thing is just gorgeous. I definitely can walk into any watch boutique and feel extremely confident while wearing it. You know, I wore this out to the mall in Orange County. It's a South Coast Plaza. They have like every watch boutique you can think of there. And, you know, I was at the IWC shop. Lots of love for this piece. You know, Rolex, Omega, you know, all the shops basically. Just with this piece on my wrist, I didn't have to be bashful or anything like that, or worry about what others might think, because this is just, even though they've never, I'm pretty much guaranteed that they're not going to have heard of Brellum. Just this piece and the execution, there's really no denying it. So, I mean, although I'm not really self-conscious, I mean, I wear a lot of micro brands. It's not something that I really take issue with, but one of the nice things is that I don't have to, even if I was feeling self-conscious one day, or, you know, maybe, when you're in the market for a piece, maybe kind of that brand recognition side of it is, you know, a much larger part of your buying experience. For me, it's not as much. It's definitely nice, especially when you're going to start ponying out more money. But as far as just the execution of this piece, it really speaks for itself. So whatever, you know, I could say Mark Alamaris on that dial. That's me, by the way, if you haven't stayed till the end credits. And it would just still be fantastic. I would, of course, be proud to have my name on a timepiece like this. But just as an example, yeah, I mean, I could say anything on there, and it's just people would be impressed. This thing is just that nice. And especially impressed if you are any type of watch buff or watch fan, or consider yourself an aficionado. This is definitely something that you're going to want, you know, in your collection. It's the inaugural piece from Sebastian over at Brellum. I mean, I'm really looking forward to what else comes out from them, and what else we see next. I mean, whether it's another special edition release of the Duobox or a completely new model altogether, I'm just really looking forward to seeing what they bring to market next, because I'm just infinitely impressed with this piece. As far as model variants go, of course, there's a black dial model, blue dial, gray dial, as well as some two-tone gold options, and you know, limited edition models that have additional complications. You know, all look fantastic, and if I was on that level, I would love to own them all, because they're just really, really, really nice. So that might actually be your toughest issue, might be trying to figure out which one you want to get. You know, I'm a big fan of blue dials, but for me, just the white balance and black balance, just the color play on this particular variant is just so gorgeous. I couldn't resist. So really, really nicely done. You know, bottom line, this is just an amazing value for what you get. COSC certified, automatic chronograph, executed to a luxury level of finishing. You know, that's rarely ever found below 5K, if ever. And I mean, and I didn't say near luxury level. This is a luxury level of finishing, as far as that goes. And I mean, you're getting it, you know, even the full price directly from the manufacturer is lower than gray market you'd find for something similarly comparable that probably wouldn't even hold up when you put it next to this guy, because this thing is just that good. So actually, you know what, let's get a little loom shot before we get out of here. Sorry about that, a little carried away with how gorgeous this dial is, but let's go ahead and loom it up. As you can see, really nicely done there. And I never noticed this before, but even the little indexes there, the little tick marks that split the indices, it looks like they actually have a little bit of loom to them, or at least they're reflecting the loom. Oh, that's really interesting. So really nicely done. This watch didn't have to have lume to be successful, but I mean, wow, just another reason to love this thing. It just has it all. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do hit like. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe for more content just like this. And thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.